FQM. So they'll be giving us a case study of how they have moved towards greener and more circular mining, basically taking us through FQM's decarbonization journey. And our presenters will be Jade Goldstein. He is Zambia infrastructure lead at First Quantum Minerals. Jade is an infrastructure lead. His key focus areas include collaborating with Zambia state power utility ZESCO. So something relating to what you were talking about, Mafipi, about the cost of energy. Anyway, he also works on ensuring that there is sufficient power generation for the country's industrial expansion, developing private-public partnerships that enhance key transportation corridors, and he's focused on efforts to incentivize local content creation across the mineral value chain. So Jed, please do come to the front. He will be joined by Karl. Ullrich, I am butchering your name, please bear with me. I know that is not the pronunciation. Nonetheless, Karl is Group Infrastructure Technical Advisor with FQM, and he's been with FQM for 17 years. He's involved in issues of Electra Haul, trolley track systems, battery electric vehicle technology and trials, dynamic and static charging systems for the battery electric vehicle. His role also includes looking at issues of the volt network, distribution design, electric excavators, and issues of blasting, drilling. All right, so I'm not too sure who's starting, but Jed, over to you, and I believe Karl will come in next. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Very pleased to be here representing First Quantum. So if we could get this presentation up. Great. So again, here representing First Quantum, I'm the infrastructure lead. I'm based in our Lusaka office, looking at countrywide infrastructure efforts that we're engaged in. So just to step back for a moment to give you a little bit of background on First Quantum. First Quantum was started in the 1990s, and mining is not inherently circular. We all know that. But we actually started with circular thinking built into our DNA. Our first project here in Zambia was Bwana Mkubwa, which was tailings. So we ended up turning waste into value. And that's how we eventually, set down on the road of becoming one of the leading copper producers in the world. So we have very much circular thinking embedded in how we do things. So we find value in what's overlooked by others. We're always looking for ways to become more efficient and to improve our production processes to remain globally competitive. Today, I'll walk through how we apply some of that circular thinking at First Quantum, and we'll present a concrete case study to you, which my colleague Karl will share. We can move to the next slide. Great. Again, as I mentioned earlier, there is a natural tension that exists between mining and circularity. So mining is extractive. Circularity closes loops, but the relationship isn't necessarily oppositional. It actually both enable one another. So what we know is that copper and nickel, two metals that First Quantum is involved with here in Zambia, are materials that will power renewable energy, that will power electric vehicles, that will also greatly contribute to low emission technology around the world. And so how we extract that copper is very important to the overall mission that copper and nickel have, which is around creating those closed loops. A good example that I like to say is, if you are getting a cup of water, you don't want to drink clean water out of a dirty glass. You want to drink that water out of a clean glass. So we tried as hard as we can to ensure that the copper that we extract, the copper that we produce, is produced in as environmentally friendly of a way as possible. So just to set the stage for how important copper is to this global energy transition, in the next 25 years, based on forecasts, we will need to mine more copper than has been mined in all of human history so far. That's a lot of copper to power those closed loops and to power the global energy future. Electric vehicles use 4 times more copper than internal combustion engines. Then wind turbines use quite a bit of copper. Additionally, with all of the new data centers for artificial intelligence applications and the strain that places on energy grids, you need a tremendous amount of copper to transmit all of that energy. So for some circular thinking that First Quantum engages with, circular practices in action. So we reuse 83% of all water consumed at Sentinel Mine, which is in Colombia. We also recycle all of our waste oil, and it's filtered and reused again as fuel. We've reduced electricity consumption. We've reduced diesel consumption by electrifying our mining haul fleet, which Karl, my colleague, will get into. And then also we place a great amount of attention on localizing as much content as possible to try to keep value creation here in Zambia. I'll now soon shift over to Karl, but the technology that I'm very excited about, and I'm thrilled that Karl could be here to share with you, has to do with our Electra Haul trolley technology. So using fairly standard technology, which is seen in streetcars around the world, where you have a pantograph and you have a train, connected to the electricity system. We've done the same with our mining fleet, and First Quantum is the leader, and that technology was born out of Zambian innovation. So I will turn over to Karl to talk about that, and then I'll join you again in a moment. Thanks.
Good afternoon, all ladies and gents. Okay, briefly, we've just heard the previous presentation. One of the main topics, productivity. Well, this little picture on the left there, on the right there of an electro haul vehicle is one thing that shows it. We are the largest fleet in the world of ultra-class vehicles, Sentinel and the now closed Panama mine. That vehicle on the right is a 400-ton payload, which equates to 80 adult bull elephants, just to put it in perspective. Just going back to those vehicles, those 400 tonners, and we run 100, 150, 200, 250s, and 400s in our fleet. By using our electro haul technology, we haul up 10% inclines, which is a standard normal incline in an open cast mine. On a diesel vehicle, which is inherently 11 kilometers an hour due to the gearbox ratios, the electric haul vehicle comes up at 23 kilometers an hour. Productivity speaks for itself. In 2024, we traveled 450,000 kilometers on trolley lines on 2 mines, Sentinel and Kansanshi, equivalent to approximately 10 times around the world. That's all on electricity. 300.7 million liters of diesel saved, significantly reducing operating costs. 10,000 tons of CO2 emissions avoided, real world progress. And faster cycle times, as I said earlier, lead to higher productivity, uphill average speeds, there they are. We are also trialing a battery electric vehicle, total battery. There's no diesel component in there whatsoever. It is interoperable across all OEMs. High capacity, 6 units versus 3. And on our trolley lines, we build approximately 1,000 meters in 4 weeks. All done. Safe, simple, fast to deploy. Future ready for battery electric. As you can see, that is the battery truck there at Kansanshi, and the pantograph is fitted, which I'll get onto now. Speed upgrades on flat trolley to 40 kilometers an hour. And we are doing a lot of R&D on regenerative power on the braking on a descent at 10%, which currently the BEV incorporates internally. That is how part of the charging circuit works. One thing on the BEV is I'm very involved with OEMs and ourselves to improve the charging circuits, because you could well imagine there's a trade-off between net vehicle mass and gross vehicle mass, and batteries, as you know, are all pretty expensive and very heavy. And a BEV vehicle, only the life of the battery is when it drops to 80% capacity, it has to be replaced. When that happens, that battery we will put into other applications through renewables to drive pumps and various other things. So there's another bit of circularity for you. But yeah, there's a lot of work going on, and we lead in it, I believe. Thank you.
Thanks. So I just want to end with, to power these electric trolleys, you might ask yourself, how can Zambia power the electrification of a mining fleet, given that we have power deficits that are quite extreme right now? And we fully acknowledge the power deficits, and we're doing our part to try to alleviate some of those deficits, working closely with ZESCO. ZESCO is our most important strategic partner. And I just want to frame how important ZESCO is. And I know that there might be a temptation for mining companies or private industry to try to create an island around themselves and to isolate themselves from the greater problems of the national grid. But that doesn't satisfy part of what a mining company's responsibility is to the host country where it operates. If we just create an island of prosperity in Solwezi, an island of prosperity in Kolumbila, that doesn't help Zambia's industrial development. What we want to do is we want to use mining to be a catalyst for greater economic growth and greater opportunity for the entire country. And we can't do that from behind the meter. It needs to be done on the electricity grid. And so that's something that First Quantum is incredibly committed to. Right now, only, I think, 45% of the country is connected to the electricity grid. There's still quite a ways to go, and in order to get more of the country connected, you need a strong ZESCO, you need a strong transmission operator to facilitate that. So we're working with independent power producers to connect them into the ZESCO grid, and they'll be able to build these projects off the back of our offtake agreements. And then we're also working with ZESCO to help with grid stability initiatives. So when you're adding all of this renewable energy into the generation mix, you need a way to keep the grid stable, because the renewables are intermittent. So if you have solar and you have wind, solar is only active 8 hours per day. Wind is active depending on wind patterns, and that plays havoc on the grid. And so what's needed is a bunch of infrastructure to help support the introduction of all of these renewables. And again, Zambia is so gifted or endowed in abundant energy possibility. You have wonderful water resources. You have the best battery in the world, which is Lake Kariba. And then additionally, you have plenty of sun. And so in terms of creating a very, very compelling destination for producing the copper that will power the world's renewable revolution, what a wonderful thing to be able to do that using renewable energy rather than using diesel and oil and gas, et cetera. So we're very committed to bringing more renewables online and helping the grid absorb that. So with that, I'll just say that we're committed to creating value locally. We are open to partnerships, open to opportunities in that regard. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you. All right. No, thank you so much. Those were very interesting insights about the innovations that are being done. Very thought-provoking as well, and encouraging. And I must say, because earlier there was a comment about planning for cities, what you've done with Kalumbila is actually quite impressive. All right. In the interest of time, we're only going to take about 2 questions. Please be as brief as possible before we transition into the next case studies on manufacturing. Let's have the mic ready. Give us your name, organization, and whom you are posing that question to.
Thank you so much for those wonderful insights that you've shared, both from the first presentation and from FQM. My name is Richard Zulu. I'm from Zambia Association of Manufacturers. So in the first presentation, Mr. Mafipe did highlight to say 75% of the costs in the mining sector come from services. I'll dwell on the services part. And in the presentation that Mr. Karl did make, he mentioned that they are working on having a truck that is fully battery operated. And they're working with a number of OEMs to do that. And I just wanted to find out, is there any deliberate initiative to ensure that the services of replacing the batteries, maintaining the batteries, the skill set that is required that the OEMs do bring is being transferred to the local entities to ensure that we reduce the amount of services that we take from foreign entities?
All right, thank you so much. Who wants to take that?
Okay, to answer that in a nutshell, you missed one key word there. We are trialing a BEV with an OEM. We haven't bought it. However, personnel at Kansanshi are all Zambian personnel who are working on that vehicle together with the OEM being Japanese. So that technology they're gaining now, and if this vehicle proves to be successful, we will roll out further. It is only once it belongs to us that we can then modify, research, develop different battery packages, different charging methods, static and dynamic, etc. Right at the moment, we've had this trial going for a year. We are finding various problems. It is a proof of concept vehicle. And once we're all happy, then things will start moving forward. So it doesn't actually belong to us now. It is here on loan from Japan. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. One last question, unfortunately. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Comparing the two presentations, the one from Mafipe and the one you've put forward from FQM, question is, would you say that FQM is the lowest production cost producer of copper in the world? Even with the electrification of your haulage trucks and stuff?
No, I don't exactly know the statistics, but I would guess that rather than comparing Zambia to the U.S. is quite an expensive jurisdiction as well, I believe. Probably a better, well, a comparison that would be more interesting to me would be a place like Chile, which I think produces 3 million tons of copper plus, and so I would love to see how the cost structure is different. But I know that the Kansanshi mine and the Trident mine are certainly not the lowest cost producers.